Everest conquered, Hillary and Tenzing were welcomed and congratulated by their fellow members of the expedition.
Everest triumph.
Everest story.
Everest conquers.
Everest is climbed. Everest has been conquered by Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. Mount Everest, the highest and perhaps the most desolate place on Earth, remained unclimbed until Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary did the impossible in 1953. At least that's what we know. In fact, George Mallory and Andy Irvine could be the first ones to do so nearly 3 decades earlier. In 1924, Mallory, a World War I veteran and a dedicated partner, carried a picture of his wife Ruth on him to his Everest expedition, hoping to leave it at the summit if he manages to scale the giant. Irvine, his climbing partner, carried a camera in his backpack to document their historic attempt. Equipped with primitive gear by today's standards, Mallory and Irvine braved incredible odds and crossed the 8,000-meter mark into the death zone and set up their final camp before the final summit push. On June 8, 1924, the summit day, fellow expedition member Noel Odell looked through his telescope and spotted Mallory and Irvine just 800 vertical feet from the summit. Nobody saw them alive ever again. Their disappearance remained a mystery until 1999, when Mallory's body was discovered on the north face of Everest. But the photo of his wife was missing. Could he have left it at the summit? Irvine's remains were discovered in 2024. But the camera that he carried has not been found yet. Did Mallory and Irvine reach the Everest summit on that fateful day, nearly 3 decades before Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary did? Or did they fall short? The truth remains elusive. But what's undeniable, though, is the fact that both men ventured higher that day than any human had ever gone before. Their story remains one of Everest's greatest legacies, a tale of ambition, mystery, and a dream that still echoes through the heights of Everest.
Oh man, the Mallory mystery. It has haunted historians for years now. We were in quite a deep conversation about it with Jamjudai over dinner the previous night. As we finished our breakfast and began a hike from Phakding the next morning, I remember feeling like a kid, lost in his own magical realm of fantasy, imagining all sorts of things about this magical, mysterious place called Everest.
As you leave Phakding and head towards Namche, a sense of calm surrounds you. The trail winds through pine forests, the air crisp and cool, carrying the earthy scent of the mountains. Small villages dot the path, where Sherpa families go about their daily routines. The only sounds you hear are the rush of the Dude Kosi River, the occasional soft jingle of yak bells, the humming of bees and the chirping of birds. About 30 minutes away from Phakding lies Tok Tok. This is where trekkers into the Everest region obtain their first permit, called the Sagarmatha National Park Permit.
This one here, safety back inside. This one carry the packet inside. They are on the many times.
Do you see this?
Yes.
The second one, called the Khumbu Rural Municipality Permit, can be obtained ahead at Monjo.
On your way to Namche Bazaar, you come across numerous suspension bridges, and some of these bridges hang impossibly high.
They actually sway with the wind and you can hear the river gushing way below you. These were our first taste of adventure on the trail.
At nearly 400 feet above the river that flows below is the longest and highest of them all, the Hillary Bridge.
This is the confluence of two rivers, Boti Kosi and Dudh Kosi, and together from here they form Dudh Kosi River. And you can see there, up there, it's the famous Hillary Bridge. The bottom one is defunct now, and the current functioning one is the top one. Let's go.
Let me put my glasses on. It's too sunny out here. Yeah. So I was a little bit behind Sana and Jamjudai that day, and by the time I reached the Hillary Bridge, the sun was out. It was still cold and windy though, but I realized just how windy it actually was the moment I set foot on the bridge.
The bridge sits at the top of a narrow mountain valley, which creates a natural wind tunnel for the wind gusts to speed up due to a phenomenon called the Venturi effect. And being this high up, there's nothing in the way to slow the wind down.
I had the camera in one hand and my trekking stick in the other, and I didn't have my hands free. It got so intense at one point. I remember thinking that if I fall down here, the guys won't even be able to find my body. It was a real teaser for the adventure that lay ahead, you know. Welcome to the high Himalayas.
After a full day's trek from Phakding, we finally reached Namche Bazaar, a site that felt like a reward in itself. Local children and adults alike were gathered around it, filling the space with life and laughter. As we stepped in through the gates of Namche, the first thing that caught our eye was a milky white stupa. Right beside it was a bust of the legendary climber Pemba Doma Sherpa.
Pemba Doma Sherpa was a local Namche girl who went on to climb Everest from the tougher North Face and Lhotse, the fourth highest mountain in the world. These were all firsts for a Nepali woman.
I remember thinking to myself, we were finally in the company of legends, truly in the mountaineering paradise.
Nestled into the mountainside at nearly 3,500 meters, Namche spreads out in a natural amphitheater shape, with rows of colourful buildings stacked along the slopes. This natural geographical configuration makes it prone to cloudy weather, especially in the morning. But being the last major town before the base camp, it also offers a perfect opportunity to take a day off for acclimatization. Acclimatization hikes generally involve hiking up to a higher elevation and then coming back down to Namche Bazaar.
We began our day with an acclimatization hike to Sagarmatha next, but unfortunately it was closed because there's a very famous Sherpa festival today. We didn't even visit the Everest View Hotel because the weather was not very clear, and now we have come back to Namche and we are at the Tenzing Norgay Museum. But unfortunately, this is also closed.
Namche has a lot of places that you can actually hike up to, but not a single one was open that day. The visibility was that bad. But that wasn't the case the last time I was here 2 months ago. We had trekked up to this beautiful place called Sagarmatha Next in Siangboche, just an hour's uphill climb from Namche.
Sagarmatha Next is an experience centre dedicated to preserving the natural beauty of the region while promoting sustainable tourism. It does so by repurposing waste on the trail and on the mountains into art. One of the highlights is an impressive 3D model of Mount Everest, which visitors can experience through a VR headset, bringing the majestic peak to life in stunning detail. It also runs an inspiring art residency program, inviting artists to turn waste materials into powerful works of art.
Kongde West and the Kongde Peak a little bit open, and then the top one there are the lot of Japanese people and coming in the Kongde village and the Kongde East also, and then high season coming the same like the Fuji. Japanese people say Fuji 6,190 meters. Big one, east one 6,000 meters, west one also almost 6,000 meters. Kongde Peak.
We are at Namche helipad now, and from here we can see the entire Namche city. The city sits in the lap of the peak Thame, which is right behind us, and we can also see Kongde Peak this side.
Jamjadai was in full mentor mode that morning. I remember he was showing us around these peaks like he knew them personally. This is Thame, 6,400 meters. This is Kongde, 6,100 meters. That's Blam, 6,800 meters. And I was standing there thinking, in most places of the world, these peaks would be the highest mountains around. But here in Namche, that was not the case. They were just random peaks on our way to the Everest base camp. That just showed the scale of altitude we were at. And we were going to go much, much higher. Today, though, our destination was a village called Thame. The trail to Thame from Namche was relatively short and easy. So we had started off a bit late that day, around 9:30 a.m.
Thame holds a unique place in mountaineering history. It has produced some of the world's most legendary mountaineers, including Tenzing Norgay, who grew up here, and Kami Rita Sherpa, who has climbed Mount Everest a record-breaking 30 times. This village is also home to the late Ang Rita Sherpa, known as the Snow Leopard, who famously climbed Everest, a record-breaking 10 times without supplemental oxygen, and remains the only person to have done so in winter.
He's also taking rest.
Oh yeah.
Dog.
Lot of oxygen. Too hot.
You've probably noticed the little ball of fur who's been following us since Namche. Well, we called him Brownie, obviously. He was this little guy full of life, and he just followed us throughout the trail till Thame. After a long day's trek, having Brownie around made things a little more cheerful and enjoyable than they already were. We really had started falling in love with him.
Thame!
I can't believe where we are right now. This is nothing short of paradise.
There is a belief in Tibetan Buddhism that there are these mystical valleys, hidden somewhere deep in the high Himalayas called beyuls. These are considered to be sanctuaries of peace, natural beauty, and spiritual refuge, sort of the intersection between the physical world and the spiritual world. And Thame was as close as a place could get to being called a beyul, Just so beautiful. One of the most beautiful places we've ever been to. There's this enormous garden just full of daisies, where Brownie was just lounging around, roaming across the ground, just so happy and cheerful. And to be honest, so were we. To our left, this huge hill rose up, almost like it was watching over the whole village. And straight ahead, through the clouds, we could just make out the tip of a snow-covered peak. I mean, I know Thame wasn't a beyul just because it wasn't hidden. Or was it? By then, the line between reality and fantasy were actually starting to get blurred.
The breakfast. I still miss the soul-satisfying Nepali breakfast on this trail. But this breakfast was a little bit different. Not in terms of the food, obviously, but in terms of what was in the dining hall that day. The place we were staying at also happened to be the house of the legendary climber Apa Sherpa.
Another of the golden boys from Thame, Apa Sherpa, until 2017, held the record of summiting Mount Everest 21 times, the most by any climber till then. He miraculously survived an avalanche when he was a child, and always dreamt of being a doctor since then. However, his father's death forced him to become a porter. He climbed Mount Everest for the first time in 1990 with Rob Hall's team. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Looking at all of his Guinness World Records hung in the wall, it made the fire of mountaineering burn a little bit brighter in us, and that gave us a renewed push for our journey till Lungden. We were to cross the 4,000-meter altitude mark for the first time in this journey. Exciting times ahead.
are moving to Lungden from Thame. Lungden is maybe 2 kilometers from here, which will take us another 1 or 2 hours. And that side is Nangbala, which is Nepal-Tibet border. And we are hoping to make it to Lungden in 1 or 2 hours. And it's really chilly over here.
As the altitude gets higher and higher, the sun's influence on the weather becomes more pronounced. And when the sun goes down, the warmth vanishes almost instantly, and the temperature really starts to plummet. And the meltwater streams grow more frequent too, tracing their paths down the slopes, fed by the towering glaciers that now feel closer than ever.
How was it? And we can see there are many llamas in the village. Most probably they are partying because there's a festival going on. Funky. Tomorrow is a big day. We might go to Renjola Pass if we do not take 1 day acclimatization break over here. And if we do take a break, then it will be day after tomorrow. So yeah, tomorrow might be a marathon for us. We might have to trek for 10-12 hours at a stretch. And for now, let's go and rest in Lungden, charge up for tomorrow.
Happy to see us.
What are you looking at?
I don't know, this massive mountain, which is not even 6,000 meters maybe.
So Amy,
Yeah.
to a friend who's coming to do 3 passes in the Everest region, what would you recommend as the top 3 things to bring along with them?
Kneecap, trekking stick, good shoes. These 3 are non-negotiable.
Nice, I totally agree with you.
I catch cold very quickly if my ears are exposed, so this is also quite important to me. Yes. There is a severe lack of oxygen up here.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Stay
I'm coming
there.
down.
Then you should stay there.
No, I'm coming down.
We are getting to see some of the peak tops from here. From some of the peaks from here.
Peak top.
Peak top. We began our day with an acclimatization.
at Namche helipad.